Well, two nights in a row, you get a little Spencer squared. Spencer German, Spencer Davies, who, as you can tell, on site in Detroit. I wish I was there with you, buddy. But a thriller of a game for the Cavaliers. They pull it out 118, 115. Certainly a good amount of things to talk about in what is the Cavs' last game before the trade deadline tomorrow. We'll have a little bit of stuff to talk about in regards to that. But Spence, what stood out for you one night after the loss to the tough loss to the Celtics at home? About the way this team came out and played. I think, from my perspective, one thing that cannot be neglected here is the fact that after Evan Mobley had a rough night last night, he comes out and drops 30 tonight and sort of responded and I think proved to a lot of people that were maybe wondering if this was just like a Evan Mobley problem again. Like, it was just a bad night. Like, those things happen.
Those things do happen, and he comes out, makes his first 3 shots, gets to the line. A couple of those were trays. He was really looking like in control when he had the ball going down the lane. He had 7 assists tonight, but really, I think the all-around game for Evan was really solid tonight, and just that he looked like himself offensively, which is a good thing. But most of it was in the first half. The Cavs' second half wasn't really pretty. The turnovers tonight were not great. This seems like a game that Darius Garland just kind of bailed them out there at the end with a 3-pointer after just not really having their heads on straight, man. There's some really weird fouls down the stretch. Got Cade Cunningham on 2 3-pointers, and he made, all of the free throws there. Almost went into overtime, but DG with the heroics. Little crossover, came down to the middle of the floor. Deep 3. I tried to get my camera out because I knew it was going in, but I wasn't quick enough because I'm an old man. And he just drained it. And this entire place was just so distraught. And he's just sitting there with his crossed arms. And the funny part about that, Spence, is that DG went rogue. That play was not for him. They had Sam Merrill trying to come off of a pin down on the other side. But DG said that he was top locked. So Darius took the shot, went down, and the celebration started. So it's pretty crazy to see this from my first game I've ever covered on the road.
Yeah, just rub it in, because I wanted to be there. Other obligations kept me at home, but no, yeah. Listen, I think that I do want to come back to just the scene there at the end here in a second, but I thought like it was a cool moment in a season that, I mean, let's face it, Spence, like there haven't been a lot of opportunities for those types of plays for this Cavs team because usually they're usually just blowing people out, and then some of their losses. Like the Thunder loss is a little lopsided. There was a couple close games. Obviously, you played the Rockets close. You played the Celtics close 3 times and lost to them 2 times. So yeah, like there's been some time, but there hasn't been a ton of opportunities to win like a buzzer beater like that. So this was kind of like a nice sort of thriller, a nice kind of change of pace in a way. Like, not that you want to see the Cavs struggle if you're a Cavs fan and have to rely on that to win it. But this is what makes basketball fun, like plays like that. And yeah, I mean, I think this was kind of like a nice exclamation point on what's been just a brilliant stretch for Darius Garland all season, but obviously recently as well, where he's gotten back in rhythm. He looks really good.
And he was huge in the fourth quarter, right? He atoned for his sins, so to speak, because he'd been turning the ball over the first 3 quarters. I think he had 5 or 6 miscues today. The Cavs as a whole, season high, I think it was 25 or 26 turnovers. And the Pistons were really doing a good job of making them kind of jump pass. And the Cavs were a little bit indecisive, maybe thinking a little too much and trying to pass and be a little too unselfish. But credit, again, goes to Darius Garland for bailing him out there at the end. I thought Evan was really good. We have to get into what happened with Jared Allen and Asar Thompson at the end of the game where J.A. said he got hit in the face and ended up coming back and setting a really hard screen on Asar Thompson. There was a meeting of the minds at midcourt. Took a little while looking over the review. J.A. gets ejected, and as Donovan put it in the locker room, he just kind of crashed out after he got hit. And Asar was chasing DG over a screen to try and defend him. But, man, that was a crazy last minute of this game. But it was not the greatest of nights for the Cavs. In the bright spot department, I would say Max Strus had a good game. Thought it was a really solid bounce back just for him and Evan. Craig Porter Jr. always ready to step up when he gets the call. 16 big points tonight. Did a really good job. He was available on the outside, had three of 4 from deep, and also attacking in finishing in traffic, man. He is just so poised when he has the ball in his hands, and he can just fit right in, and it just shows how deep this team is really at that guard position.
Yeah, I mean that's certainly not a weakness for this team, especially with the deadline approaching. But yeah, the sort of skirmish there, which maybe sets the tone for their fourth and final matchup between these two teams later in the season. A little bit of bad blood there. Certainly adds some spice to this matchup where you already got the JB Bickerstaff connection kind of going on. So we'll see if that comes back in any capacity when they play later this year. I did think obviously an interesting move with Donovan out of the lineup. Karis LeVert got the start today and played really a dreadful game. He was 0 of 8 from the floor, -5, 2 bad games in a row for Karis. And, what's interesting about that, Spence, is like he's been a name that's been floated as a potential trade chip for Cleveland if they do look to make a move, but not really the way that you want to sort of advertise him if you're planning on trying to maybe use him as something in a trade.
No, and it's not just the jump shot either. Like, we know that the jump shot's going to take some time because he's got the right wrist injury. Other than that playing time against Dallas when it really wasn't even that much of a game, since he's come back, he just has not been able to shoot the basketball. But tonight, I mean, he smoked a layup in transition. He airmailed a floater. Defensively, he was still active, and that's what Karis is. But we know offensively this is not who Karis is. And you have to think either it's a combination of the injury and trying to get back from that, and that he's bothered by that right wrist, and also probably just hearing the noise. It's just kind of a perfect storm in that sense. And it sucks because we know how good of a player that Karis is, but clearly he was not at his best tonight, nor was he against the Celtics. So just kind of unfortunate. But, who they did have tonight was Ty Jerome again, just getting to that floater. Everyone was floating in that first half. Ty Jerome, George had a couple putting it on the ground. Darius got to his floater too and was really in attack mode, even though he had the turnovers. Like I said, DG definitely set the tone in that sense too. So they were able to grit one out tonight. Not the best night that they've had. And Kenny was not happy with the lack of execution on the fouling at the end of the game. First one was George Niang, who got quick Cade Cunningham originally, and then Cade hit 3 free throws. And then on the other end, Cade Cunningham again getting a 3-point shot up, only down 3 by the Pistons, and they were instructed to foul, but Evan just simply fouled too late instead of fouling right away on the inbound. So just some things to think about on that. But that's pretty much the summation of tonight's game. I just thought, Jared Allen setting that screen on Asar Thompson, man, that you heard the tension in that one, and you saw JB and Tristan and all these guys in the middle of the floor just kind of chirping at each other. So I'm looking forward to the next matchup for sure.
A couple of comments I was just going to throw in. Our good friend James Bridges, JB Smooth 84 says crazy ending. B Skrills, who always jumps on with us, says good bounce back win. Dan, that was a close one. Excuse me. This one from Carl Lewis says, love J.A. Garland was not feeling the crowd, and he told him about it. And I thought this one was also good. Cedric Taylor, probably a hard decision on if a trade should be made at this point. So you talked about the lasting image of the hard screen from Jared Allen. I honestly, I want to go back to the game-winning shot because it felt like, I think a lasting image from this game was Donovan Mitchell coming out and hugging Darius and just the mob scene. Like, if you wanted a moment to sort of show you how tight-knit this group is before the trade deadline happens here. And I'm not it's just kind of funny how it worked out this way. Poetic justice in a way. The night before the trade deadline, you get this epic moment where all these guys who talk so much about the chemistry here and how much they get along get a chance to kind of celebrate one of their own making a game-winning shot like that. So it was kind of I thought a pretty profound moment for this team with that as the backdrop tomorrow. And again, I don't know if they're going to make a deal. I think given their situation, it's we talked about it a little bit last night, Spence. There's only so much they can do, but we do know I think that.
Poor Spence.
Excuse me. We know that some of their weaknesses, I think, have been areas of the roster that they maybe don't have enough depth have been sort of on display. So just just give me your thoughts on that moment and what you think is going to play out tomorrow. God.
Get a glass of water, my man. Will be considering things, right? Kenny, interestingly enough, Kenny was talking about pregame how it's more of a mental thing against the better teams and the top tier teams than it is something related to personnel. So I thought that was interesting. If you look at our pregame video from Detroit tonight, that was an interesting quote. I posted that on my Twitter as well. I think that they'll be, active in listening. I don't know how active they'll be in making a move that is like earth shattering, but clearly a backup big and somebody, around that 3/4 position would definitely help. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how active they are. Obviously 3 p.m. tomorrow. But yeah, no, that's pretty much what I have. And there's, the buyout candidates. Yeah. You saw more trade movement today. So, who knows?
Yeah, a lot more trade movement. Obviously, the big one being Jimmy Butler going to the Warriors tonight. Literally while this game was going on, and I think Golden State was like warming up when that trade happened, yeah. and Steve Kerr had to like pull his whole team in the locker to like talk about it. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. A lot of movement going on around the league. We'll see if the Cavs get involved on it, and certainly Spence and I'll have some reactionary stuff for you guys here down the pike, either tomorrow or Friday. But as always, we encourage you, head on over to the Cleveland Cavaliers and SI YouTube channel where many of you are right now. And check out the post-game comments from Kenny Atkinson. I think you talked to Craig Porter.
And Darius Garland had his thoughts on the game winner was awesome.
So that's all up on there as well. Yep. Some of our other post-game stuff like last night against the Celtics. And, of course, our podcast, Courtside with the Cavs on SI. So find all that there. You can also head on over to Cleveland Browns on SI or si.com/NBA/Cavaliers to see any of our written content about tonight's game, the last couple games, maybe any trade deadline stuff that goes down tomorrow. So as always, we appreciate you stopping on by. Spence, be sure to get home safe, my friend. I wish I could have been there for you, but hopefully we got some more road trips down the pike here.
Most definitely. And last thing, Cavs did a really good job on Cade Cunningham, even though Cunningham kept going at the end of the game. I thought they did a really solid job of trying to frustrate him and did a good job defensively. That was the only last point I had. But thank you, Mr. Spencer. Make sure to get that call checked out. And Megs, thanks for producing, man. Big help.
This might be my last video ever because I may not make it. But guys, whether I'm here or not, please keep on following along with all things Cleveland Cavaliers with the Cleveland Cavaliers on SI.